What's up, YouTube? It's PhiDX. We just finished watching the Tekken Talk live for Season 2. If you don't know what these are 2 to 2.5 hour live podcasts where the Tekken dev team explains the upcoming changes, their philosophies behind it. They give some live demonstrations from the newest build, and we get to basically get a preview of what's coming up for Tekken 8. This is the Season 2 one, so the changes are actually legitimately massive. They've done some engine overhauls, they're talking about ranked resets, and they give some insight into their balanced direction going into the next patch. So on screen right here, I have the outline of the day, and we're going to basically cruise through it as quickly as possible. So here we go. The main update content for Season 2 is the first additional new character, large-scale balance adjustments. Now, they don't go through each individual change. They talked about having 1,500 or more changes when you account for all the characters, but they don't go through that in detail. They just go through it in broad strokes. They talk about ranked match changes, which I personally have been hoping for and am really excited that they're addressing these. And then they talk about a new feature that nobody really asked for, Ghost versus Ghost, but it looks like it could be fun. It's definitely a completely separate like game mode, almost like a Pokemon style game mode for Tekken. I'm gonna pull up the Anna trailer just so you can watch it here. This is the character they revealed for Season 2, Anna Williams. If you've seen it already, you can jump to the timestamp below to the next section. And if you're curious about what I think about the trailer, I'm doing a deeper analysis about like every move and every situation in a separate video. So the hair is growing on me. When I first saw the hair, I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it, but I think her design is really cool. I love that the music track they play is from Tekken 6. I think Tekken 6 is some of the best soundtracks, has some of the best soundtracks out of all of the Tekken series. Apparently, the rocket launcher is called Lovely Tom because when they wrote Anna the character, she's a fan of Tom and Jerry, of Tom specifically. And she uses the rocket launcher in her combos. There's a little frame trap off of a charge move. She has her same stances from before. They look to have the same evasive properties. She has a rocket stance that she canceled into her Chaos Judgment stance. And when she parries with the stance, it leads to that hop kick that she got there. Also, apparently, according to the lore, Anna Williams is the best cook in the Tekken franchise. So apparently that's why she says Lydia is a gourmet. Full crouch low from before, but now an instant tornado instead of a full launch. So you get a mini combo or a shorter combo. That's up 2. Counter hit guarantees a heat engager out of Chaos Judgment stance. Now the full crouch low gets an extra hit in heat. There's a heat dash combo. Bit of wall carry. It looks like she has some new stance stuff. I want to see in the actual move list, but it feels like she's doing some cancels that she didn't have before. Same while rising 2. This is her heat smash, and when she hits you with the rocket, you stay purple. So we think there's some kind of debuff mechanic, kind of like Aki in Street Fighter, but they didn't really show what it could be here. And now it's Anna versus Nina. And I think this part of the trailer is really well done. I've never heard Nina so sassy ever, and I'm a Nina super fan. But what's cool here is they show the characters' moves like parallel. So that's Nina's back 2-2, and then Anna's back 2-2. Both like double slap moves that are homing. Down forward 1-2 from Nina, down forward 1-2 from Anna, but it cancels into stance, and you can see some evasion happening. Nina has a new gun move. Now Anna's applied the debuff. Don't know what it does, but there it's gone after Nina gets hit, I guess. Wall splat combo off of a snake edge. Tornado, and then a new grounded shooting combo ender. Flip kick, which is an instant tornado, and now we see her rage art, which in a real Anna fashion is so extra. I'm sure the Anna fans are loving what they did with the character. I've said it before. I hate fighting against Anna, but as a Tekken fan since like Tekken 3, I feel like no Tekken is complete if it doesn't have Nina and Anna. So as much as I'm horrified about fighting this character, I am pretty glad that she's back in the game, just from like a Tekken fan standpoint. Anyways, if you jump back here from the timestamp, welcome back. We just watched the Anna trailer, and in addition to that, they talked about how in Season 2, one of the DLCs will be a brand new original Tekken character. And because they do so much research for like the martial art and the aesthetic that they want to go for, I'm pretty excited for what they come up with. No extra details aside from that there's a new character that's going to be completely original. They also talked about in March, we'll get a Tekken Talk dedicated to Anna, I believe. Maybe some new Season 2 changes as well. But we'll get to see a build with Anna and demonstrate a bunch of her kit. So that will be in the next Tekken Talk, which we'll also do a review of. Now, the part you've probably been waiting for, the Season 2 policy or the design philosophy going into Season 2. They have 3 key points. They want to expand the strategic options of the heat system so that players can show more individuality and style. They want to reevaluate the offensive and defensive balance of the heat system. I think that's a big win. And they want to improve controls for more accessible gameplay. This is actually misleading. Number 3, I think, is one of the biggest system changes Tekken has ever had, and we'll talk about that when we get to there. But for now, the heat system changes. They've made it possible to use Heat Burst and Heat Smash from certain characters' stances, right? They've also made it so that when you heat engage, we saw this in the Season 2 trailer, you can hold down back, down, or down forward to go into crouch. Now, they say 1, 2, or 3 because Japan uses numpad notation. Huge changes to the heat system. Honestly, this seems really horrifying to fight against, but let's watch Zafina. She's going to demonstrate what we just talked about. So, down forward 2, she goes into Scarecrow stance, and from Scarecrow, she goes into Heat Burst. And then from Scarecrow, she does Heat Smash. Now, if you fought Zafina and understand what she does, and I wouldn't blame you if you don't because she's an insane character with so many stances, hard to keep track of everything she does. But here she's in Scarecrow stance, and she can Heat Burst right away, which is new. Then she goes into Scarecrow again, and she normally has a low Heat Smash from here. But here, she does her regular standing Heat Smash. So I don't know if they're going to change the inputs or change like how you pick each one, but that's new, and that's unique. As for the running part, I think they'll show that coming up here. It also accompanies, we get to see some unique Anna gameplay as well, which is a neat little teaser as part of this. Here we go. So Anna here, she heat engages with her booty, 14 frame booty, plus 17 as usual, and now she's standing and running in like normal. Now they're going to show the run in with the crouch, and the animation, it changes immediately, right? So if you look at it one more time, she heat engages, she runs in, and she's already kind of lower to the ground. And by the time she slows down, she's fully crouched. This is a huge change, not just for the majority of the cast with full crouch moves, but also for Anna, whose key mix-ups come from her crouching stance. You want my quick take on this? I think this is insane. I don't like this change at all. The logic of full crouch in Tekken historically is that you are taking a risk by crouching in your opponent's face, right? You're risking being launched. But you gain access to a strong mix-up like Law's slide or Lee's slide or Shaheen's slide, right? So to have access to this immediately from a plus 17 situation is pretty insane. And as you can see, Anna gets her full crouch launch into a combo, right? Sure, it's a tornado launch, but it's still insanely strong. Yoshimitsu will probably have access to his unblockable low sweep. So very concerning change. I don't like this one, but we'll have to see how it plays out. Okay, we talked about Zafina already. The second one is reevaluating offensive and defensive balance. Now, this, I think, is a positive change. They're reducing heat chip damage across the board when you're in heat, and they're reducing that extra chunk of chip you take when someone heat dashes on your block, okay? So, if you look at Jin Kazama here, he's going to demonstrate it. This is the new build. When he heat dashes with forward 2, you take 15 chip damage now. Before, you took 19. When you were in heat, you always took less chip damage, so the Kazuya is going to be put into, in rage mode. When Kazuya is in rage now, he's going to take less chip, but now it's significantly less. He only takes 4 chip damage from that forward 2, whereas it used to be 12. So, huge change there in favor of reducing those like checkmate situations where your opponent chips you into one last mix-up. I think that's pretty good. Now, this is a big change that will be really popular. Removing some Power Crush heat engagers. They didn't say which, and they weren't comprehensive. But we see Azucena no longer heat engages with forward 1+2. In exchange, they've given her 3-3, which is now accessible off of, I think this is up forward 2 or up back 2. Looks like it gives a guaranteed 3-3, which is now her heat engager. So we can assume that characters who lost their Power Crush heat engager, and since it's the high one, I'm guessing Victor's losing his, maybe Eddie loses his. Total guess, we don't know. But they will get a replacement heat engager. What's also interesting in this clip is Azucena does running 3-2 and goes into stance, right? Before, it just left her in neutral at +2. But I'm guessing this is a change along the lines of Victor, where their running, advancing offensive move lets them go into stance as well. So cool change coming to Season 2. Not the stance part, but the removal of the Power Crush heat engager. I don't know how I feel about attack into stance. I think stances are way overused in this game already. Now, this is what I think is the biggest change that has come to Tekken in a long time, if not ever. They say control enhancements, but what they've really done is they've now allowed you to sidestep into the foreground from crouch. This is a nuance of the Tekken system that has been in the game for as long as I know. I think since Tekken 3 and Tag 1. Someone in chat told me in Tekken 4 that you could sidestep to the foreground from crouch in Tekken 4 specifically, but I haven't tested it, so I'm not sure. This is insane. This is a ridiculous change because I have a video on this before, I'll link below, where certain offensive patterns are restricted by your ability to not be able to step. So Dragunov here does down 2, Jin is stuck in crouch, and historically you cannot step towards the screen into the foreground unless you, when you're in the crouching state. You cannot step into the foreground from the crouching state. So he can only step left here, which Dragunov's while standing 4 tracks. But with this new change, he can now step to the right, which is what it's weak to. This is a great quality of life change, I think, for beginners and newcomers to the series. However, it is a big drop in the depth and nuance of offense for legacy players. It's going to be a controversial decision both ways because of that. If you want my take on it, I preferred when it was restricted. I thought it made a lot of sense in the movement, in the way movement worked and crouching and sidestepping. But I accept that this is going to make the game easier for more people to understand. Now, my only hope, I have 2 concerns. My only hope is that this doesn't affect movement and how it feels, because canceling a sidestep and how sidestepping interacts with crouching is integral to how I think Tekken feels. But there's also, I want to demonstrate this in game, there's also specific techniques where you can only cancel by moving to the background, right? So let me pull up my arcade stick because I can't really do this on pad. But Lily has a crouch dash. Also, do you like my custom? Let me know in the comments. Lily has a crouch dash. I want to hide some of the UI so you can see. Where you do QCF. Dragunov has this. Brian has this. Tons of characters have this crouch dash. And you are stuck in the animation. You can't tap back or forward to cancel it like with the Mishima wave dash. But you can tap up to sidestep at any point to cancel it. What we don't know is, can you sidestep to the foreground mid-stance to cancel it early? You see how I'm canceling the crouch dash early with sidestep left? Can you cancel it early with sidestep right? Is that how it works? Same thing with Nina. She has the famous Hayashida step where she would sidestep or crouch dash backwards and then tap up to cancel it. So a good Nina, I don't think I could do this, but we'll do like crazy movement like this and constantly move backwards. Can she do that to the foreground? Because the input is going to be overridden by the crouch dash now, the QCF. So will it look the same? Will it look different? Will she lose access to the technique? I hope that no characters lose access to their techniques. I also hope it feels as good to move as before. We truly don't know until we get our hands on the build. So crossing my fingers for this one. Happy that it's going to make Tekken more accessible. Mixed feelings about it. In terms of like someone who's been a legacy fan and loves high level play that takes advantage of this. Now, that's one change. They've added another huge change in addition to this. So that was the biggest one. They've also increased what they call sidestep pre-input functionality. What I understand this to be is that you can input a sidestep in block stun and it will come out during the input buffer. Now, you could already do this. So what has actually changed? I think what they've changed is made it more accessible for side walking. Side walking is more difficult to do out of block stun, but they want it available as a defensive option. So Jin here is side walking to the left after Law's back 1-2-2. This was possible before, but was pretty input tight. So my guess is they want to make it easier to sidewalk out of block stun like this. Again, I'm a fan of increasing access to Tekken's movement as long as it still feels good and skillful to use. Part of the thing I really liked about Tekken's movement is that the cancellation from movement to movement is kind of strict, but the skill in developing that makes it feel satisfying. Maybe that's a hot take. Maybe some of you agree with me. The analogy I would use is like Super Smash Bros. Melee. Really hard to move around, but if you master the movement, the cancellation feels good and rewarding and satisfying. I'm a fan of that style of gameplay. Not everybody is. My hope is that this change doesn't affect the skillful expression of movement while still letting people sidewalk and sidestep more often. That's my hope. They've also done a big change here in easing the input difficulty at the start of the rounds, aka you have an input buffer at the start of rounds now. This will stop you from inputting a jab and losing to somebody's hop kick at the round start, because currently the way the game works is round start, no input buffer. Whoever truly hits their input at the start of the round is moving first. But now you can buffer your inputs. So the RPS you might play at round start, where you want to round start power crush or round start Steve back 1, is going to be easier to do. On the flip side, your opponent will have access to that too. So you'll be less likely to rob them with a slower move that you happen to do faster. Fun fact, Harada said that Tekken 1 used to have this. If you held if you held a throw input, the punch and the kick, at the round start, your character would throw at round start immediately. So I don't know if they're going that far here, but they are adding some input buffer at the beginning. I think this is a decently good change. It's less random BS and kind of just a bit more clarity on what happens at the start of rounds. And then they showed footage after talking about it. I just showed it alongside it. Okay. Next part, the ranked system changes. This I was praying for, hoping for. On my second channel, you can see my live reaction to this segment. I was tweaking. But they listed their goals as mitigating the disparity in matchmaking, revising the point system, and implementing a ranked reset, adding new ranks. I'll talk about my opinions on each, but let's look at the changes. So, lots of changes here. 7 updates, something like that. So let's go through one by one. Change in matchmaking logic. Tekken power is no longer used for matchmaking. Instead, the system considers the highest rank among all characters for matchmaking purposes. So, that is good. I was curious about why they were trying to do it that way before, but in general, I think this is good, depending on how it actually ends up being implemented. So it's hard to say how it's gonna. It's hard to be happy or angry at it until we know the details. But the next update is in line with this. They are also changing how your secondary characters rank up alongside your main character. So now previously when you were a Raijin, your secondaries would be promoted to Garyu, right? If you were Tekken Emperor, your secondaries would be promoted to Flame Ruler, a 7 Dan difference. Now, when you hit Fujin, your secondaries are Mighty Ruler, right? So this should hopefully solve some of the smurfing problems, or like the feeling of being smurfed on by somebody who's way better than you. In addition to matchmaking, this is back to update 1, based on the rank of your highest character, I think this is just to reduce the frustration of earlier level players running into high level players. This will be kind of funny because I think someone like me, even with a God of Destruction character, when I pick up a new character at Fujin, I get washed a lot, right? Learning the new character stuff. I think there's going to be a lot of crash outs on secondary characters, which will be kind of fun from a content angle, but I don't know how people are going to feel about it. I do know for sure that the newcomers who only have one character will feel way better about this. So generally a good change. They're adding more search filters like same rank only and rank restriction in quick match. Generally, I like this for improving the player experience, but it heavily depends on the population size. Like this could really slow down matchmaking where some people already really struggle to find matches. So one thing to consider, but generally I would agree with the change. They must be confident that the population is big enough that people can find matches. Big change here, the way points work. So my last video a long time ago on how the rank points work is now completely irrelevant as of this change coming April 1st. Now, when you win against a higher ranked opponent as a lower ranked opponent, you get more points. If you're higher rank losing against a weaker opponent, you lose more points. This makes sense, right? Like if chess elo, like if you lose to a grandmaster and you're like a beginner, you don't lose many points. But if you beat a grandmaster, you deserve a lot, right? So this is an improvement, assuming they do a good job with the algorithms. Historically, Tekken has not done a great job of just making a rank system that like copies any existing ranked system that's good. So I'm hoping that it's better. To be fair, this is the first time that I'm aware of that Tekken has done this. Since Tekken Tag 2 and through Tekken 7, even when they didn't show the points you gained and lost, my understanding is that you get the most points if you're the same rank, you gain and lose the same amount if you're 1 rank away from each other, you gain and lose the same amount if you're 2 ranks from each other, etc., right? So now adjusting it based on who's higher or lower is a big deal. We have to hope that it's implemented well, but I think it's a big deal. It's something I've been asking for. Number 5, removal of the lost streak penalty. This is going to feel better. We don't know if this is going to inflate ranks or not. It's going to depend on how it interacts with update 4, the point adjustments for higher and lower ranks. It's going to feel better, which is nice. Personally, I think win streaks and loss streaks probably don't belong. But yeah, more consistent point reduction system regardless of loss streaks seems good. Will feel better for most people. People will stay in ranked longer. This is controversial, though. With the removal of loss streaks, they're keeping the win streak bonus. Now, their goal here is that if you're a Smurf, you get to your correct rank faster, so you ruin the experience for lower rank players less frequently. And this is something higher level players actually prefer. We don't like I just looped myself in with that. Let's be real. The real high level players don't care as much about beating up on noobs. They would rather get to the competitive game sooner. So this is a good thing in that sense. The question is, how does it interact with the loss streaks and the point losses and gains? Will it keep ranked integrity stable? To be fair, the ranked integrity right now is not that good, so maybe it can only go up. Enhancement 6. So yeah, so for red ranks and below, you start gaining bonus points. It used to be only blue ranks and above. So we'll have to see how this plays out. Also, the promotion bonus is changed, right? So they wanted to address the issue of people intentionally demoting and then promoting again to gain a point spike. Now you only get those bonus points when you're reaching like a new record for yourself. So the first time you hit Tekken King, you have a bit of a buffer, but the next few times you're not getting carried anymore. I think that's generally a good change. Update number 8. They talked about adjusting the starting ranks with a full ranked reset. They go into detail about how far you reset. But the idea is they're giving little rewards for the end of the season. And I think that's good. I like the idea, even if it's a tiny cosmetic, giving some kind of reward for hitting a certain rank. It motivates people to keep playing. This is how the resets will work, right? So the details are here. Probably most notable is if you were red rank, you'll go back down to orange. If you were purple, you'll go back to red. Blues go down. So everybody's jumping back down one with certain difference of degrees depending on how high up you were. Obviously. Biggest one probably is Tekken Gods go down to Kishin, and Gods of Destruction go down to Tekken King. So that purple God King climb is going to be a bit harder this time around. Or people will have to repeat that part. But if you were in the middle ranks from red to blue, you're not going down very much. And I think that's a good thing. People have asked me about rank decay, by the way. I think decay is only relevant for the top echelons of play, or in the ranked ladder at least. Punishing a mid-ranked player who's probably playing the game casually for not playing the game consistently feels rough and they'll just go play another game. There's no reason for Tekken to disrespect their time like that. But the top ranked players who have invested the time, are really sweaty, even if they're casual, encouraging them to get back on could work. So that's my perspective on resets and decay. Now this is the change I was the most excited for. Update number 9. 8 new ranks after God of Destruction. They don't show it in the slides, but they specifically talk about how this part of the ladder is harder to rank up in. So you have to earn an orb or a ball, they called it, like a Dragon Ball, per God of Destruction rank. And once you've acquired 7, you're eligible to promote to God of Destruction Ouroboros. It's an infinity sign, but they said Ouroboros. Now, again, we don't know the details about how hard this is going to be. My hope is that the harder it is, the better. Because at the top ranks, having a leaderboard that actually reflects the skill of the top players is motivating. It leads to more content. It leads to more intense death matches. I'm generally a big fan of that. So the Season 2 rank changes seem really good. I don't have it here, but there was a slide that really blew me away where it basically talks about their goal with the rank system is to reward skill and kind of reflect the where players belong. And I was wondering why wasn't that part of their philosophy when they initially designed it? I was kind of shocked that they clarified that, because to me it seemed like that's a no-brainer when you make a ranked system, right? So I'm glad they're kind of on the right track now, but I was just kind of appalled that was what they said at first. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Yeah. Their policy was implement proper matchmaking based on skill level, create a competitive and fair point system, develop an environment that maintains goals and ensures long-term enjoyment. I'm like, isn't that what we should have been doing anyways? Why was that not a Season 1 policy? You know what I mean? So, anyways, these are the changes they did in order to promote that, but I was shocked. Anyways, those are the ranked changes. Let's now look at this final section, the Ghost versus Ghost system they're adding. Basically what this is it's a Pokemon style form of combat where you train your ghost, you program them, you give them feedback on how they play, and then they fight each other. This might be cool. This honestly, I think for people who aren't fighting game sweats, who want to play it every single time, it gives people it gives them a way to engage with Tekken outside of just sweating as hard as you can. And it'd be cool if they had tournaments or stuff like that, right? So it's coming out in multiple phases. Phase 1, is just ghost versus ghost. You can choose the playstyle of your ghost, and not very robust. That's the first thing. Phase 2, they add like ghost data deletion, so you can refresh it. They add AI learning tools. I don't know the details of that, but I'm assuming you fight the ghost, kind of like Super Ghost Battle. And then they'll add a ring into the Tekken Lounge for ghost fighting. And then phase 3 is the coolest one. It's where you can choose action patterns to influence your ghost as they're fighting, and then you can rate what they did as nice or bad. So here's a demonstration of this, and it also has a little Easter egg about some season 2 changes, but they're showing the dev UI right now, so this isn't what we'll see, but you can say throw, power crush, low, heat smash, mid, rage arts, and you can kind of select an action. There, it looks like there's a bit of a cooldown, or they'll try to follow those actions for a little bit and fight it out. So personally, it's not what I think any competitive player asks for, but it's a pretty exciting new way for, I think, casuals to play, and I think we'll make some fun content around it. Notice this little clip here, though. Season 2 change. Dragunov does QCF 4, and it doesn't hit on the ground. This is a change that's been asked for a long time. So they are listening. A little slow to move, but that's a big change. We're excited for that. Also, hopefully we can bet like fight money, like in-game fight money on our like bots, like so I can get more customs. I don't know. It's not like it's hard to get fight money, but it'd be cool just to like accumulate a lot of fight money, you know? Last thing, they talk about the TWT, and then they talk about some Easter eggs about the Tekken like lore and things like that. So we'll talk about that real quick. May 9th, EVO Japan will start the Tekken World Tour 2025. It'll end in November. 6-month season feels really short to me compared to a full year. I think that makes travel really stressful. It makes the tournament schedules really stressful. It makes it hard for players to adjust to balance changes. I'm not a fan of a short tour. We'll see how it plays out. Generally not happy with that. They talk about also measures they took to reduce like tournament fraud. So like you have to flag a DQ. You can't list it as O2. And that will adjust, I think, how they distribute points to people. Okay. And then they wrapped up the talk with, I'll just let the Anna trailer play while we wrap up. They talk about some small lore things that they're trying to insert in the game more. So like Kazi is a sneakerhead. That's been a thing since I think Tekken 1 or Tekken 2. In like the info books that come with the games on console. They added that as one of his endings in the story mode, right? Anna likes Tom and Jerry, mainly Tom. That was a old lore thing when they introduced her in Tekken 3, from what I understand, but it didn't come into play until Lovely Tom, her rocket launcher, right? And the fact that she's a chef is coming into play against Lydia, and I think this is huge. I think every little bit of character you can insert to the characters and their interactions goes a long way. Like, I feel like DOA did this pretty well, like with Kazumi and Ayane and Helena. Just the small interactions they have in the pre-fight and post-fight dialogue, I feel like I know a lot about those characters without ever playing the story mode. You know what I mean? And I think what Tekken is doing here is a good adjustment in that direction. So adding more character lore, adding as much life to the characters as you can is a big deal to me. And Harada said that I don't know if it was the executives or the programmers or the other dev teams, they were saying don't show as much. Like you don't need to reveal all this in the old Tekkens. But it seems to me like they should have been doing this from the beginning. I feel like they've already done a good job of having like really identifiable characters. But to me, it makes a lot of sense to just lean into this more and more. I love the idea of characters with character. So in the same vein, I feel like I didn't know Anna was the little sister. I didn't know that. It makes sense by how like pissed off she is at Nina all the time, but that was a new fact to me. So I love the idea of more character, more interactions and things like that. So also they said when Harada says don't ask me for shit back then, that was like a meme, right? And they said obviously we actually do want your feedback. That's why we do Tekken talks and things like that. So one point of feedback they wanted, this is what we'll wrap up with, is the character announcements for the seasons. They said they're used to the old way of doing things where they tease character by character and reveal them at tournaments, right? And that was a long-standing tradition that builds a lot of hype. They're big fans of it. They know that some like community members are big fans of it, but times are changing. They're like, maybe that's an old man take. Maybe we live in an age now where you really should reveal all the characters and give the season pass buyers more like heads up on what they're getting, you know? So that is something they're looking for feedback on. That is something that they're genuinely curious about. If you want my position on it, I can kind of see both sides. I know I have a history of being kind of a fence sitter, but truly, I don't have a strong opinion on it. I like the tournament hype. I like the reveals. I like laughing at the EU division for leaking the characters early. That's funny to me. But I also get it. Like, if you're paying for a season pass, you should probably know what you're paying for, right? So both have merits. Let me know what you think. Last thing we'll finish up on. I know that was the last thing I said last thing like 3 times ago. But this Anna Williams concept art and things like that are pretty cool to look at. So they go into a lot of detail about, this maybe sound weird, like the garments underneath, like the jacket. They want cosplayers and artists to have all the information they can to truly recreate their character, you know? So I'm a big fan of sharing info like this. I talked to a dev, not a Namco dev, at the EVO Awards, who mentioned that their like characters are expensive, like 30 to 40K, and that was for a 2D game. So when it comes to a 3D game, the difference is probably way higher, right? And that's not to glaze the devs or anything like that. It just goes to show that I think like it's cool to appreciate the small work that goes into like every bit of character design here. I'm a big fan of like appreciating artists and appreciating the work they put into the game. I bet these will be alternate customs for Anna in like that you can buy from the Super Ghost Battle or something, like no jacket. So yeah, I'm generally a big fan. And then if you care, they did a bunch of merch stuff at the beginning, the skateboards, the LEDs. They have some new t-shirts, I guess. The Nina figure is what I'm excited for. But anyways, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching and sticking with me through this update. Let me know if you have feedback on how I do this format. I'm trying to always improve and give the updates faster and more cleanly. Let me know if you're excited for the changes, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.